So let's go with the Q&A. We have received quite a lot for each speaker that I'm also going to ask a couple of questions for each of you. So first, Angeliki from Linda Delgado. I don't really understand the position of FAO and World Health Organization regarding food safety. Isn't its work overlapping with the EFSA, or is it some general worldwide recommendations?
Yeah, sure. FAO and WHO and the JECFA committee, they're providing scientific advice. And as I explained, they provide scientific advice in other UN agencies or the Codex Alimentarius or the member states of UN. Part of this scientific advice is also to conduct the risk assessment, and the specific committee conducts risk assessment in chemical substances. Hence, the role is the risk assessor, while a Codex and Codex Alimentarius committee and its members, they are the risk managers. And this is EFSA is regional in EU, while FAO and WHO, they're UN agencies, and they conduct this work at the international level, at global level. I hope that covers the question.
I think so. Another question from for you from Berlian Sari. What does JECFA consider when selecting enzymes or enzyme sources that its safety has to be assessed?
The priority list and the list of the substances that they need to be assessed, it's mainly developed by the member states and the Codex Alimentarius committee. Hence, we have a priority list, and there we pick the substances that we're gonna evaluate in its meeting. If the question refers to the aspects that the experts will look at in the evaluation, then there is the guidance document that they follow, and depending on the source of the enzyme or the enzyme preparation, they look to several aspects, such as the allergenicity, for instance, or production of toxins. And perhaps maybe it's easier to post the link of this guidance document on the chat so you can have a look on the issues that the experts will look at to conclude on the safety of a food enzyme.
Yeah, we will see if it's technically possible to post this link on the chat of the participants.
Okay.
But I think so. One quick last question for you from the same participant. Is it possible to be selected expert of FAO or WHO if he or she works in a private company?
As explained, we have a pool of experts. We call it roster, and this roster is renewed every 5 years. And every time we need to organize a meeting, we will pick our experts from this roster depending on their experience and the gender balance, geographical balance. Hence, we issue a call for experts every 5 years, where you can find the criteria and the eligibility criteria. And there is no restriction. We look into the expertise, so there is no restriction if the expert works in an institution, in a university, or the private sector. However, when we plan our meeting and we select the experts, we will contact them to see if they agree to participate firstly in the meeting and do the work. But when we contact the experts, we send them a declaration of interest document. And there they have to declare any interest, especially related to the substances that we will evaluate. And this declaration of interest applies to all the experts. So independently if they come from the private or a university, for instance. and then we will assess if there is a conflict of interest. So there it might be that if a conflict of interest arises, then of course we cannot proceed with selecting a specific expert. So in one sentence, it is not an elimination criterion. However, we do look into the conflict of interest issue.
Sure. Thank you very much, Angeliki, for your answers.
Thank you as well.
We move now to the next one. Jaime Aguilera, is it necessary to know the safety history of donor organism? I don't have the name of the participant here.
Well, it helps, but it's not the only thing you need to know. Of course, if the donor organism, the question is the donor organism. Sorry, I didn't understand well. Or the recipient.
If it's necessary to know the safety history, the safety.
Yeah, but of the donor,
of the donor organism, donor.
No, it's not.
The donor.
No, it's not, because what you get from the donor is a concrete piece of DNA. You need to know what this piece of DNA encodes or what it's meant to, but the safety of the donor organism as such is not necessary.
Okay. The next one from Alessandro Zavatteri. You mentioned the creation of amino acids that do not exist in nature, but the 2020 study by the Commission on New Genomic Techniques seemed to open up to the use of techniques that merely speed up natural processes. How will this clash be overcome?
Well, I don't know exactly which study from the Commission Alessandro meant. If I'm not mistaken, would be the study of new genetic techniques to be applied in plants. However, the opinions with regards products of synthetic biology that I referred to responded to another request from the commissions to study the adequacy of the EFSA guidance to products made by synthetic biology with no restriction of the techniques. And that's what we did. Our experts also, once you call them and you talk about synthetic biology, they didn't want to restrict to any technique. Actually, EFSA is not the one to open up or to close the industry or whoever to use or not use any other techniques. Our role is to do the risk assessment or whatever it comes to us. So I don't see any clash, actually.
Thank you. And last one, quickly, from Berli Ansari. Does the EFSA collaborate with private companies when developing guidelines of enzymes or food additives, especially in conducting research in the laboratory?
No, not directly. And actually, it would be clearly interpreted as a conflict of interest. When we are developing guidance and we need data and we need research to be done, we just open calls for projects with public institutions in order to co-found projects and to participate in projects which could provide the data we need for the risk assessment to elaborate our guidance. But direct involvement and collaboration with private institutions, it would be a clear conflict of interest because it's precisely the products of these institutions that we are assessing afterwards.
Yeah, clear. Thank you very much, Jaime. And next, George and Costas. We have a question from Mami Manful. NAMs currently accepted by the EFSA for risk assessment of botanical extracts in preparation for dossier submission? I don't know if George or Costas would like to answer this question.
George, maybe you know this specific.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I can have a go at this one. I mean, one has to consider that we're in the transition phase at the moment. So in terms of the use of NAMs, so we've identified specific areas where NAMs can be used, generally more in the complementaries. I mean, the idea is really to move on to come to some substitution of the use of animals. But so on their own, they may not necessarily be sufficient to provide sufficient information to do a risk assessment currently. But the area of certainly botanical extracts, which falls very much into the mixture side, because we're normally dealing with many substances here, NAMs become very powerful in the sense that they you can use them to test or screen many mixtures, which will not be possible in animal studies, because I'm sure you will know the issue that you're going to have variability in terms of the season, you're going to have variability in terms of geography where the plant is grown, and this causes changes in the composition, and you cannot have, let's say, always a representative composition for animal studies. So NAMs become very important there for screening. But as I say, they're at the moment good for screening. We will not be able to accept a pure NAM-based assessment for risk assessment. But I should also say that NAMs are at this stage already fully accepted for the genotoxicity. So if you're running your botanical extracts through the OECD accepted and EFSA recommended tests, these are NAM-based, they're in vitro, and if the outcome is clear in terms of is it negative or is it positive, then the substance can, if it's negative, will be declared as not coming with a genotoxic or concern for genotoxicity. So there it's already applied. But when it comes, depending what tests are being required, repeated dose or developmental toxicity studies, these at the moment we're not there yet in substituting those with NAMs, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you very much. One last question from Teresa D'Amore. The use of NAMs in risk assessment is a worth topic. Are you planning to organize specific courses, training workshops on these subjects?
Definitely on the cards. I think that's something we will be investing in the future. We've done it already for other approaches, but now, NAMs will certainly be prioritized because they're part of the prioritization process in EFSA. I may also draw your attention to the Eurotox. I don't know what you're based in. I think that looks like you're based in Italy. So Eurotox every year does as one big conference, and as far as I know, there will be a NAMs training session in Eurotox next year. So we're talking here about September next year, and it's going to be in Ljubljana, Slovenia. So keep an eye on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Then thanks a lot all the speakers for their very interesting and inspiring presentations. Thanks a lot to all of you, and we will come back in, I would say, less than 10 minutes at 11:50 for the next part of this morning summer school, where we will talk about the point of view of the companies and the public as well. So see you in less than 10 minutes.